American League East champions. The Orioles are going to be busy. Tomorrow, the opening day roster will hold a public workout at Camden Yards with their fans. And then what all of Birdland has been waiting on. MLB owners are expected to vote Wednesday on the Angelos family sale to David Rubenstein's group. That is all expected to take place and go through, and then this deal will be official, with Rubenstein taking over as controlling owner of the O's a day before opening day. NFL owners and other team officials and head coaches are in Orlando for the annual league meeting. John Harbaugh, one of those, talking all things Ravens and his team's offseason. Harbaugh remains committed to his priority number one, having a solid offensive line. And due to all the changes with both guards gone to free agency and right tackle Morgan Moses traded to the Jets, getting the O-line set via free agency moves, and the NFL draft remains his top focus.
Well, I expect it to be better than last year. You know, that's always the goal, is to improve. So along the offensive line, we want to be even better than we were last year. I think Joe Delisandris does an amazing job coaching the offensive line. And so, you know, we've still got Joe. We've got to find who the next guys are going to be. We have guys in-house. We have free agents that we've signed, obviously, you know that. And then we've got the draft. So I'm confident we'll have a very good offensive line.
It's a season too late for Ravens tight end Mark Andrews, and unsure how well NFL officials can police this in real time. But league owners did vote and banned the hip drop tackle today.
All right, coming up on Fox 45 News at 6, a mother speaks out after her teenage son was gunned down. Her unanswered questions as police search for his killer. Lawmakers are expected to address juvenile crime this week in Annapolis. We'll take a closer look at the negotiations ahead.
Mayor Brandon Scott delivers his State of the City address tonight, what we can expect amid growing concern from residents. A mother's plea after her 16-year-old is shot and killed in Cherry Hill, her unanswered questions as police search for his killer. And lawmakers expected to hammer out a deal to address juvenile crime this week. A closer look at what's on the table in Annapolis.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for staying with us. I'm Mary Bubala. A live look at center stage, where Mayor Brandon Scott is set to deliver the State of the City address. In just a few minutes, the mayor will address city council, elected leaders, and Baltimore residents. Now comes as Fox 45 News continues to question the mayor's public safety strategies amid growing concern from residents. Baltimore City has seen 47 homicides and 98 non-fatal shootings so far this year. And while those numbers are down from this time last year, law enforcement experts say they could rise this summer.
Juveniles being out more, it's also lighter outside longer. So there's more time to create more mayhem throughout the day. And so without all of that taken into account, the uptick in murder this past week, Baltimore, this is a preview of your summer.
Well, we have also heard the mayor tout a reduction in homicides. Last year was the first time in 9 years Baltimore finished a year with less than 300 murders. And while the mayor says his holistic approach to violence is the driving this decline, some point instead to the partnership between City State's Attorney Ivan Bates and U.S. Attorney for Maryland Eric Barron. Now, this graph shows homicide trends over the past 4 years. From 2020 through 2022, Baltimore saw a surge in homicides every summer, highlighted in yellow. Barron, though, introduced his Al Capone style of prosecution in August of 22, and Bates took office in January 23. And you can see there was no spike in violence last summer. Now, Mayor Scott has been a vocal supporter of Bates's policies, but refused to speak out while former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby was in office, employing progressive policies that did not target low-level offenses.
I am focused about my work. I don't have time with the amount of stuff happening in Baltimore to worry about other people's work.
Are you saying that the state's attorney's office isn't doing their job?
No, I'm saying that we, as I've said to you before, Mackenzie, that what we are doing, what I am doing is ending these generations of fingerprinting.
He often avoids that question because he is very, very resolute in not accepting any criticism of his policies. He could have had a change in Baltimore's situation a long time ago.
Baltimore has also seen a spike in quality of life crime like car thefts and break-ins in recent months. There have been more than 1,800 car thefts so far this year, on top of 11,000 in 2023. And some residents say they're considering moving out of the city.
I'll illegally park on the smaller streets before I'll park on Patterson or Euston. We're moving out at the end of this month. We are moving to Catonsville.
When I went to my car this Monday, the same window was shattered. Got me to thinking, like, is this a safe place for me to be?
Even with the carjackings and with the broken windows, that, like, it just wasn't safe anymore where I lived.
We'll stay with Fox 45 News. We'll have complete coverage of the State of the City address on Fox 45 News at 10. You can also follow along on our website, foxbaltimore.com. A Baltimore mother demanding justice tonight after her 16-year-old son was gunned down in Cherry Hill. The mother shared this video of a horse-drawn carriage carrying her son, 16-year-old Kamar Askins, to his final resting place. Baltimore police say they found Askins shot multiple times in Cherry Hill back in February. No word yet on a motive nor any information on a suspect. His mother says she's been left with so many unanswered questions.
My main thing is why. When children are doing something wrong, you don't have to pull out a gun. You know, there's other ways of handling situations instead of handling it how way that you feel like you want to handle it.
An $8,000 reward is being offered in this case. Anybody with any information asked to call police. A new report from Baltimore City's comptroller finds the city's nonprofits aren't paying their fair share in property taxes. The report points to a 10-year program called Payment in Lieu of Taxes, with the city's 14 largest medical facilities and universities. Under the program, the city exempts them from certain taxes in exchange for the services their nonprofits provide. The report says they pay just $6 million in annual property taxes. They would otherwise bring in $108 million. Taxpayer advocate David Williams says residents are the ones making up the difference.
Baltimore City has one of the highest property taxes in Maryland and really in the nation. And this needs to be addressed because there needs to be a solution where nonprofits are paying their fair share and people that are just, struggling to get by don't have to pay an excessive property tax rate.
Now, Fox 45 has reached out to a majority of those nonprofits. So far, we have not received a response. This week, lawmakers are expected to hammer out a deal on the juvenile crime legislation in Annapolis. It comes as we continue to hear about kids knowing what they can get away with when it comes to breaking the law. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost takes a closer look.
So let's jump in.
On the agenda this week in Annapolis, addressing juvenile crime. Legislation moving through both chambers, though the details are different. Now negotiations are underway. But back in Baltimore,
Ivan Bates in studio, Baltimore City State's attorneys.
City State's Attorney Ivan Bates on Talk Radio Monday morning.
So we are pleased. But also, I do recognize that there's a lot of work to do.
Bates says he's still concerned about the child in need of supervision or SIN's petition process. Right now, the Senate's version of the legislation requires kids between the ages of 10 and 12 years old to go through the SIN's petition process if they're accused of stealing a car. But Bates argues SIN's isn't a guarantee.
Well, I can tell you SIN's in Baltimore City doesn't work.
On New Year's Eve, Bates says 3 kids, all 10 or under, were picked up for trying to break into a liquor store. His office tried to go through the SIN's petition process to see if it works, but Bates says it didn't.
Luckily, the school system, because we stayed intact, they were able to give the services to the family. Within DJS, they don't understand SIN's petitions. But if this DJS doesn't understand, how can you expect anybody else to?
The House's version of the juvenile crime legislation requires kids between 10 and 12 years old to go through a diversionary program if they're accused of stealing a car for the first time. That's something Bates says he supports more than the mandatory SINs. But in Annapolis, Senate President Bill Ferguson, a Democrat from Baltimore City, wants the SIN's petition process.
Our system is less robust than other states, and we have the opportunity with this legislation and with the administration to enhance that SIN's process that brings in the whole family, brings in lots of different resources. And so, I think that we'll come to agreement on it.
Time and time again, Fox 45 News has been reporting for months on the juvenile crime crisis in Maryland. Just this month, Fox 45 News obtaining this surveillance video of teens trying to carjack a father with his child in the back seat.
Parents definitely need to be held accountable. The juveniles that are doing this have to be held accountable. The system that's in place now is simply not working.
Another incident caught on surveillance video showing a 13 and 14-year-old taking off in a stolen car after robbing another man in Baltimore City. And most recently, Fox 45 News learning a 14-year-old was arrested after trying to steal a car in West Baltimore. That teen wearing an ankle monitor, already under DJS supervision, telling Baltimore police it doesn't matter, I will be home later. That teen not afraid of consequences from the current juvenile justice system. Meanwhile, lawmakers continue to debate the path forward as the youth violence trend continues. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News. Breaking news tonight, a big change possible for the Orioles ahead of opening day. On Wednesday, Major League Baseball owners are expected to meet and vote on the O's ownership change. It would make the deal John Angelos had in place with David Rubenstein's ownership group official. The Orioles host the Los Angeles Angels on opening day this Thursday. First pitch is at 3:05. Stay with Fox 45 for the latest updates on air and online.
Thank you. And with the Orioles home opener just a few days away, you're probably wondering what the weather is going to look like at Camden Yards. Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jubeli is here to let us know what we can expect. Everybody is talking about rain.
That's what you've heard. The word is out, and it's not looking good for the birds. We're going to be talking about the rain moving in. Today would have been a decent one to have. We're in the low 50s, even a couple upper 50s around there. And, well, as we head through the evening, no problems. So if only we could have stamped this weather onto Thursday. As we get to the night, it's going to chill down. Upper 30s, but we're looking nice and clear. Tuesday is going to have some more clouds, and then here comes our next weather maker, and it's going to bring us rain chances, as you heard. And again, that's going to be Wednesday and Thursday. Those chances will be around. The impacts will happen to the Orioles home opener. We're going to see if there's any possibility whether or not we could get the game squeezed in, or whether they're going to have to probably move it to Friday. And if that happens, what's Friday looking like? We have all those answers for you coming up.
I'm Janae Bowens in Washington with the latest on Donald Trump's criminal trials.
The clerk in the Alex Murdoch murder trial resigning today while she's accused of jury tampering.
So what they do is they do election interference, which is court cases, and let's try and tie him up and let's take as much of his money as possible. And I don't know how you can have a trial that's going on right in the middle of an election. Not fair. Not fair.
Former President Donald Trump slamming his hush money criminal trial in New York, calling it election interference. Trump's bond has been reduced to $175 million, and he now has more time to pay. If he can't come up with the cash, the state's attorneys general could start seizing his assets. Sinclair national correspondent Janae Bowens has a look at the political ramifications.
Former President Donald Trump is celebrating a lower bond and an extension in his civil business fraud case.
I thank the appellate division for acting quickly, but Judge Engoron is a disgrace to this country, and this should not be allowed to happen.
Trump owed nearly $500 million, but he received a reprieve from a New York appeals court and now has 10 days to post $175 million.
And I'll post either $175 million in cash or bonds or security or whatever is necessary very quickly within the 10 days.
It's a compromise. For the Trump legal team, I think they will view this as a victory.
It's less of a concern for now, but failure to pay up could result in some serious consequences.
We will ask the judge to seize his assets.
However, seizing Trump's assets is a move political experts say would help Trump.
You're going to create the greatest victimhood of 2024, and you're going to elect Donald Trump.
I think there would have been serious questions in the public's mind about the fairness of that.
Trump faces several criminal cases. Even still, 538's polling average shows Trump's approval rating is higher than President Joe Biden's.
Former President Trump has been very good at using all of these cases to his political benefit.
This is a witch hunt. It's a hoax.
He's always on the courthouse steps. He's always responding to these cases. He's used it very effectively to rally his supporters.
Meanwhile, a judge said Monday that Trump's first criminal trial over hush money paid to porn actress Stormy Daniels will start on April 15th. Now, Mary, Trump says having a trial before November is election interference.
And Janae, how is President Biden responding to Trump's legal affairs these days?
Well, the Biden-Harris campaign released a statement today criticizing Trump and accused him of lying about how much money he has. Now, they also claim he pushes moderate and suburban voters away with his, quote, dangerous agenda. Mary?
Janae Bowens live for us in D.C. tonight. Thank you. Well, Becky Hill, the embattled county clerk who served in the murder trial of Alex Murdoch, is resigning. Murdoch was found guilty of killing his wife and adult son during the highly publicized trial in South Carolina last year. Months after the conviction, his attorneys accused the county clerk of jury tampering. A judge ruled the allegation against Hill was not enough to grant Murdoch a new trial.
Managing a trial with such importance to the people of South Carolina, as well as of the national and international media, interest and public scrutiny, and has caused me to reflect upon decisions involving my stay in the office of the clerk of court.
The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division also looking into allegations that Hill may have abused her elected position for personal gain. Hill's attorney claims her decision to resign is not in response to any investigation.
Okay, let's take a look at Triplecast. The only things that we're really following over there on HD Radar is we have some coastal flood alerts. We're going to take you through those, but we've got sunshine everywhere, and I know that it would be a wonderful day if we could get some baseball underway today because at least we had the sunshine. Outside, temperatures have been comfortable enough. Let's show you what we've got over here. And, well, we're tracking our next weather maker, of course, in the next few days. Not here yet. 53 degrees. We have an east wind around 9 miles per hour. That would be something that we could say is tolerable enough if we had baseball going. So 58 right now. Downtown, only the airport, of course, a few degrees cooler. And we'll usually get temperatures a little bit warmer this time of the year, or really almost any time, just because in and around the city itself, it's got that urban heat island effect where the streets and the buildings and everything makes it warm up just a little bit more. All right, a quick look at the coastal flood alerts. These go into effect tonight, and they'll last through the next couple of days. Anywhere you see we have the coastal flood advisories or even the coastal flood warnings, we could see some water inundation in those places that typically see the flooding. So keep that in mind. you may not have much waterfront there that is dry. Let's take a look now. This is back to the west of our next storm system. Quite a bit of rainfall, thunderstorms activity, and then the backside has the cold air blasting Kansas, which had tornado warnings yesterday, now has blizzard warnings today. Now that is what I would say is some pretty dramatic weather. How about us? Well, we've got rain coming. We're likely going to see some of it as we move into Wednesday. It will say scattered shower activity throughout the day. We'll have likely some better chances of rainfall on Thursday. But as you notice, there's going to be sort of a sharp line here where we could see some heavier rainfall versus very light to almost non-existent rain. And if we get the data to shift a little bit to the east, we may be out of the rain somewhat. I'm not going to say we're dry, but at least maybe not being hit by the worst of it. I will say most of the data is showing us getting some fairly significant rainfall through Thursday. So the chance of a fully dry Thursday with an Orioles game may not be necessarily very high. But our next weather maker beyond that, we're talking about the weekend. This time we may not see as much on Saturday. In fact, we haven't had many dry Saturdays. Only 5 of the last 6 have been with rainfall. Unbelievable. We've only had 1. Now we're talking about rainfall potential as we move into Easter Sunday, but right now it's keeping it just to the south of us. I'm hoping it stays that way because a shift to the north would certainly mean some rain on Easter, and we don't want that, of course. All right, here is the official forecast I'm putting out here for the Orioles taking on the Angels here at Camden Yards. We're talking about first pitch. If it happens, well, it's looking like we're going to have some rain around 53 degrees. And the question is, could they just delay it? Well, they're even looking like we'll have rainfall lingering around all the way to where the 9th inning would be. So the best bet would be as if they actually moved the game ahead, because Friday's looking a lot better. And we're going to show you that forecast coming up in just a little bit.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Tens of thousands of homes and businesses remain without power following a weekend snow and ice storm in Maine, while another storm left portions of Wisconsin under more than a foot of snow. There are no injuries after a tornado struck the Texas Panhandle on Sunday, but it did damage a hospital. And these are dramatic shots of the full worm moon over the Sierra Nevada mountains near Reno.
Want to see your weather photos and videos on TV? Click Chime In on this station's website to share.
Nashville leaders addressing safety after a 22-year-old is found dead, how they're working to make sure it doesn't happen again. Growing safety concerns after 22-year-old Riley Strain was found dead last week in the Cumberland River. Kelly Avellino from our Sinclair sister station in Nashville explains how city leaders are working to prevent a tragedy like this from ever happening again.
You've helped us get some closure here and let us take our boy home.
It's a conclusion Riley Strain's family was dreading. The body of their son discovered Friday, 8 miles from where he likely fell into the water. Just over 2 weeks ago, Luke Bryan's bar on Broadway asking Riley to leave for being too intoxicated. Surveillance video showing him stumbling in the wrong direction of his hotel, last seen on this stretch, Gay Street by the Cumberland River.
We love you, Riley Strain.
Now, tribute after tribute to Riley's memory, from music star Carly Pierce to a 71,000-member Facebook group dedicated to finding him.
I just want to reiterate how thankful we are for everyone and how much we appreciate everyone's support and love and prayers, because we feel them. We have felt every one of them.
Mayor Freddie O'Connell and Broadway District Councilperson Jacob Coupin are immediately calling for better riverfront barriers.
Fencing and security to make sure that someone doesn't walk off the edge or even just go explore down there and not realize maybe how steep that ledge is.
Just the day before Riley's body was pulled, fire crews rescue another man who fell into the water in that same area. City leaders are also looking into better lighting, signage, relocating transient people who live on that hazardous riverbank, removing the garbage left behind, and reinvigorating the riverfront.
Better program, more activity down here. We have a lot of people coming through that do have wonderful, safe experiences here, but even one bad experience is one too many.
There are also calls for a Riley's Law, putting more responsibility on Tennessee bars for any intoxicated people they kick out, like helping them find a ride home or reuniting them with friends.
All right, let's talk about the next 10 days. First, we've got to get through some rainfall. Our next weather maker will be showing up as we head into Wednesday and likely on Thursday. We'll hope that the data changes here a little bit, because it looks like Thursday may be a washout for the Orioles. We'll have to hope that some things change here, but we can't count on it. And then another weather maker is going to be at least in the vicinity